Hello. In this video I'm going to run through the file import module and how to import data, static data, into the Redthorn system. This is done at the start of an implementation of the Redthorn system and it's typically used to import things like customers, suppliers, parts, materials. So that's what I mean by static data, data that's not transactional. So first of all I'm going to run through just the process of file import. So this is really a flowchart showing how the system works and how to run through it. So on the left hand side you have the source of your data going in, whether it's original spreadsheets, legacy MRP system, or potentially you're bringing customers, suppliers, maybe even parts and materials out of Sage itself. So what the user will need to do in this instance is export that data from the system and drop it into Excel. And then they'll need to link it into the Excel templates that you can get from Redthorn and which is contained in the Redthorn file import toolkit, which I'll go into in a minute. Once you have the data into the templates downloaded, and there's a template for each area of the system, or each static data set I should say, you then save those in Excel and then you essentially save them as CSV files. And once they're saved as CSV files, you can then export them into the Redthorn, or sorry, I should say import them into the Redthorn system, and then review the data in the Redthorn system. So now I'm going to run through what you can actually import. So you can import customers, suppliers, and that's names and addresses, parts, so that's manufactured parts and sold out parts and sub-assembly parts, materials, bought in materials, material stock values, which can be done also during ongoing running of the system to update your material stock, part prices, so sold out prices for manufactured parts, machine centres, so machine centre listing, labour plans or routings as they're known, material plans, bills of materials. You can or import sales orders, so this might be something you do on an ongoing basis. You can also import critical dimensions, labour bookings, again on an ongoing basis, tools and tool planning. So I'm going to go straight in and open up the file import toolkit, and as you can see in the toolkit it's got a full list of Excel import templates and it's got another couple of documentations. The PowerPoint slides I've just had open, and also a guide to initial data setup. And I'm going to open that guide now and just talk you through it. So in the guide is a guide to all elements of data setup in the system, covering things like what kind of characters to use in reference fields in the system, and also for each area of the system, what kind of data you want to be importing, and some guidance on some of the fields and field types you'll be importing. Specifically around customers and suppliers. Within the document there's also how to use the import wizard and various other bits and pieces like nominal codes and tax codes. So the best thing to do is read this guide prior to running data import and setup of the system. So now I'm going to review one of the Excel templates and talk you through the main areas of the Excel templates. And I'm going to do this with the customer template. So I'm going to open it up and just step through the elements of the template. So the first row references the internal database field for the Redthorn system. So cref num is our own code, numsl, etc., etc. The second row references where, for the import, whether this column is required. So for this import customers, you do need a customer reference, you do need the address line, you do need a customer name, but you don't necessarily need the address itself. Thirdly, is the field type. So you can see here we have varchar, which is essentially a text field, and also a number field. So the SL field will only take a number, and the import will error if you try and import a text into that field. The fourth row is the length of field the import can handle, which reflects the field length of the field in the database, the Redthorn database. So here ref num 6, that is the length of the customer reference number. Likewise, this number 3, 0 It's a 3-digit field, and there's no decimal places allowed on it. And you can see something like an address has 40 characters because it'd be much longer. And finally, the most important one really in some ways is what the actual field is. So we've written in this row what it refers to. So customer reference number. So for this, it would probably line up to the Sage customer reference number or a reference you give to your customer. Address line, so you can have multiple addresses for any given customer in our system. Customer name itself, and then address line 1, 2, 3, etc., etc. And obviously there's further information on here, things like email addresses, VAT reg number, which currency they're working in, £0, £4, etc., etc. So essentially you put the data in here and then it's ready to import. So now I'm actually going to review some data, and I've created a folder and put some data in, so just to save time a bit. So I've got a set of import files, and for each of these I've set some data to load into the system. I'm going to open one of these files and show you here. So here I've put I've put a supplier in. So one supplier, TJ001 is the reference number, TJ Engineering, quality manager, and then as you can see I've put an address in, currency of 0, which means it's a local currency, which in this case is pounds. Next I'm going to open part, and you can see I have got one part to load, TRJ001, which is a hinge assembly, and this in this case is a sub-assembly, which means it belongs to Redthorn, hence JREF cust or customer account number is 1. Material records. I'm loading 6 material codes, and these are all going to be made up of that part, or they're going to make up the bill of materials for that part. But this is just uploading the records with some basic information like price per unit of purchase itself, minimum stock level, that kind of information. I'm also going to upload the materials planning and the materials stock for that material, so I'll do the material stock first. So on the import you can see I have for each of the materials a stock level, and so I'm going to put 100 for each of these. I'm going to put 100 units in stock, and I'm also going to give them a stock location and the reference supplier which I brought them from and the price I bought them at. And then finally I'm going to do the planning. So the materials planning, so this is the bill of materials for the part I'm loading, which is going to contain the materials. So there we go, there's my part. So it's the same part all the way through with the record for each material I'm loading, and also the frequency, so that's how many are in the bill of materials, and the route I'm loading it to. So to briefly summarise at this point, I've taken a snapshot of the templates, the supplier, the part, the materials stock, and bill of materials import files. I've created data for all of those, and in there I have a part that's going to carry a bill of materials of the materials I've loaded, which have as their preferred supplier for purchase the supplier I've loaded. And now I'm going to transfer to CSV and save these as CSV so I can load them to the system. So I've got the XLS file open, in this instance a supplier. What I need to do in order to save it as CSV is very simple. Firstly, I need to remove the heading rows, and that just ensures the system doesn't try to upload those or import those into the system. So I'm leaving the file with just the data in it and then doing save as, and it's as simple as saving as a CSV file, CSV comma delimited file. Save that, yes, and I'm just going to very quickly do this on fast forward for all those 5 import files. So there we go. For each of them I've saved them quite simply as CSV, having removed the top rows on the files, and I now have in my folder a load of CSV files which should correspond to the Excel spreadsheets. and they are now ready to import into the system. So I'm going to go straight into File Import, and I'm going to do that. So the File Import module is in the System Setup folder on the Redthorn menu structure, and it can be made available to all or any users. I've opened it up, and it's a very simple screen to use. You choose your input format, and I'm covering CSV imports here. You can use XML, which is more complex and would need to be trained on a consultancy basis. Once you've opened the form, you then need to choose which area of the system you're importing to and select the file and then click Import. The Update Existing Records checkbox means that if that data is already there in the system, it won't error out. It'll actually just update the data with any additional data you may have added to it. So you may be bringing in data again and adding additional addresses or pieces of information in the. So now I'm going to start importing data. I'm going to start with that supplier, find the file, click Import. That's the first one in. OK, that. Next, I'm going to choose the part, select the file, IRN records as my part, and import. And that's worked fine. Next one up, I'm going to bring in the materials and pick my material record CSV. There it is. Click Import. That one's come up as well. Finally, next I'm going to do the planning. Now this one should error because I've put a problem into this one to demonstrate the error reporting. So choose my planning, and I'm going to get an error this time when I run it because I've put a deliberate mistake in, which I'll explain. There we go, rows not imported. So I'm now going to do some investigation on why it doesn't import. So it says IRN TJR does not exist. So why doesn't that exist? I'm going to go and investigate on my original spreadsheets. So go back to the File Import folder in the Toolkit. There it is, Demo. And I'm going to look at my IRN record that I import, my part, and you'll see it's TRJ0001. And if you look at the planning, I actually mistyped it and I wrote TJR0001. So I'm going to change that and update the file, update the planning import, and correct my mistake. There we go, for each record I've corrected my mistake. Save that. Which will save it as CSV once again. That's the CSV file I've created. I've saved again, recreated. Go back to planning, choose it again, import, and that's worked this time. Finally, I need to bring that stock level in. So material stock, import, and that has also worked. So my final task now is to check this data is imported. So I'm going to go into supplier account maintenance first, bring in my supplier and check that's all there okay. So TJ Engineering, that data's come in. Next I'm going to check the materials I've imported. So I'm going to have a look in the material database. TJ, there's all my materials, so you can see they've all imported fine. You can see the stock of 100 is also imported. See on the screen, actually in stock 100, so they've come in fine with the preferred supply number TJ Engineering. And finally I'm going to check that TRJ part, so search for that, TRJ, there it is, hinge assembly, and I need to check the bill of materials, so go into planning, open up the planning, and I can see all those items have come into planning with the associated item quantities 111, 115211, and it's brought through the price to bring the price in planning. So the file import has all worked. So in summary, I've reviewed the file import module. I've shown some Excel spreadsheets with data in them, transferred them to CSV, imported them into the Redthorn system, and reviewed the data within the Redthorn system as they've imported.